Welcome back to another episode of the Menopause Coach Podcast with me, your host, as always, Adele Johnston, the Menopause Coach and your educator for the next maybe 20 to 30 minutes or so. We're going to look today at something that is really important and has a personal story to it that I'm going to share with you that happened to me as well. This is all about menopause as longevity and a potential upgrade for all of us ladies as we navigate through the stages and the different phases of menopause, the symptoms, the impacts, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the in-between. This potentially for many of us can become the wake-up call that actually we didn't know we needed, but also I had one I didn't even expect last week. Now, obviously, it goes without saying these episodes are here for your entertainment purposes, but also education. I think that's really important. But what these episodes are definitely not to do is to be here in place of any medical advice, guidance, or resolve for your medical conditions, issues, challenges, or queries. So please always make sure that you are linking in with your own medical team if you have any medical queries at all. This podcast is not here to replace that for you. So let's get stuck in after covering all of the admin that we have to do before we record these for you. It's crazy the world we live in right now, and I always think this, that even when we started doing this together, I didn't have to state that before. Whereas now, it is so important that we tell you this is not here to replace your medical advice. Crazy, right? The way the world goes. I mean, I love and also completely loathe parts of where we are right now in this world. But I think what's really important is that you know every single week you can come here, you can have an episode that is evidence-based, expertly backed, and researched. And that is all I ever want to bring here for you. So if you take a nugget away from today, please do come and share that with me. Let me know what the episodes do to support you in your own journey, because it helps me to show up and bring you more of these. Yeah, when I'm doing all of the research, when I'm coming across topics that I want to bring to these conversations, I want to know you want to hear them. So come and share with me, what would you like to hear next? I want to start today's episode with something that is a bit of a share, but something that really genuinely shocked me this week. Now, I recently decided to get my omega-3, 6 and 9 levels checked so that I could check and see where was everything sitting. Because as we know as women, when we are entering into menopause, things change. Like, we're not just talking about the symptoms of menopause. We are talking about the entire aspect of who we are, how we feel, inside, outside, starts to evolve, shift, and change. And for me, I recognize that not just from a cognitive perspective, but from other avenues of symptoms that I experience through my own menopause journey. And sometimes they come back with vengeance, and sometimes they're completely fine and they've gone completely. At the moment, I recognize that my hormones are they're a wee bit unstable, they're unstabilized, and I'm recognizing some of the symptoms are returning. So what I find with that is my itchy skin is coming back, and it's driving me absolutely crazy. It's one of those really terrific symptoms that you're just like, yay! Heart palpitations have returned. And I mean, there's many other reasons that these can happen, of course. It's not always just because my estrogen levels need to be fixed. There's no such thing to do. But what this has really taught me is about staying really in tune with my body. And I was speaking with a naturopath expert who'd said, it'd be interesting to see with what you're experiencing where your omega levels are sitting. And I thought, I've never ever done any of this before. So yeah, let's have a look. Now, I'll be pretty honest. I went into it feeling quietly confident, will we say? I'm healthy. I eat well. I look after myself. I'm a nutritionist. I work out. I'm knowledgeable in this space. Totally got this. These results are going to be pretty good. And don't get me wrong, I always love it when results come back and there's little tweaks and things that we can make to support ourselves. And I was not expecting anything major to come out of that. But my results came back this week and I was low in essential fatty acids. I don't even mean just marginally, some parts of it marginal, but predominantly my essential healthy fatty acids were low. And I was really shocked. It literally stopped me when I was reading through it and I thought, oh my God, this is not okay. this is not okay. Because if someone who's informed, someone who's quite proactive with all of this information, this health, with nutrition, with menopause transition, very health conscious, can have a massive gap like that, then how many other women are walking around feeling drained and brain fogged? I mean, that's happened to me so much recently, very quite flat in terms of not mood per se. Mood's been really quite stable, but more around sharpness of brain. And I'm thinking, what else can I do for my cognitive health? And it's been right under my nose the whole entire time, assuming that it's just menopause, when in fact I'm also navigating quite a significant deficiency in my omega-3 requirements and my essential fatty acids. I mean, I'm horrified, but not enough that I'm sitting in shame or guilt behind it, of course. I'm here sharing all this with you because I always think that if we can share our own experiences and stories like this without the shame or the guilt attached, then we're able to bring something that potentially one of you listening to this right now can be like, oh, maybe that's what's up with me right now. Maybe I need to go check that. So that moment in reading those results has really changed something for me, because it made me realize that menopause isn't just symptoms. We know that anyway, but it's not just the typical symptoms that we think about. I mean, I sleep really well regardless, and my mood is really positive regardless of these low levels of essential fatty acids and omegas. But actually, when I break this down and I think about it, I wonder whether this is having another impact. We are all one big, beautiful ecosystem. And I explain this inside the Menopause Coach Academy when I educate in any space, but especially in our certification, about how when we think about our body, our hormones, our endocrine system, if you're familiar with the endocrine system, or you're someone who's quite spiritual and you do more with the chakra lines, think of it as your endocrine system starts in the head, in your brain. There's 3 elements inside the brain, moving down that straight line, through the throat space, into the adrenal glands, into the ovaries. So we've got this very beautiful endocrine line. And I love to teach it this way because I'm very visual, and many of our students are as well. But actually, when we think about it, it's like an orchestra. Okay, so every part of the endocrine system is this is your orchestra. They all are individual instruments. And when those instruments are well tuned, they're cleaned, they're really taken care of, they're given everything that they need in order to perform optimally. So for us, it's our nutrition, it's our lifestyle, it's the foundations of holistic health and well-being. When we are taking care of our instruments inside our endocrine system, then we are functioning optimally. The orchestra is playing beautifully in tune. Everyone is playing together. It's a symphony. It's gorgeous. But actually, when we start to have a little bit of disruption to parts of those endocrine instruments, if you can see this on YouTube channel, I'm doing all of the inverted commas and flotations. But this is important because when things start to then change during our menopausal transition, these instruments can become a little bit out of tune, not getting what they need, not optimized. So of course the orchestra is not playing in time and in tune. It's kind of all over the place, and we're just like, oh gosh, like this is not working. So for me, it made me realize that actually not only is hormone therapy part of my journey, but it's not the journey solution. The holistic therapies that we need in our life are really important. And although my dietary intake is actually really quite well balanced, I am not bringing enough essential fatty acids into my diet. So as much as I was under the perception that everything is good in the hood, it's not. It really isn't. So it made me realize that it's not just about getting these, ducks in a row, but actually they're going to evolve and change. Okay. So what's happening further under the surface, and knowing that most importantly is our opportunity. Now I'm looking at this as a real big gift, not a, oh my God, like something's so bad I need to change, but more a, this is interesting. So how can I enhance this based on my individualized results? And this is where the reframe comes in. So as a positive psychology coach in this space, I always love to think of it as this is all information. It's always all data. And this information can help us to then navigate the next steps. We've been taught to see menopause as this like really horrible, like old lady decline in life. And actually, it's been the best time of my life, give or take a few horrific symptoms, of course. but as something that we get to experience enhancements through. Okay, this isn't just a push through to the end and then, that's it for the rest of our life. It's actually we don't have to survive this. We don't have to push through quietly. We don't have to sit inside these symptoms and this turmoil, but we get to completely look at this in a whole different light, in a different way. And if menopause is actually your body saying that it's entering this new stage or this new phase, or I hear women say this new chapter of your life, then we need a new strategy. It's almost like we get to a point where it's a what has worked then will not work now solution. And we get to, and I say this because it's not that we have to, we get to then reframe and we get to look at the opportunity of, well, how do I now enhance that moving forward? Because biologically speaking, this is exactly what is happening. It's change, it's evolution, it's a new part to your next chapter of your life, of course. Hormones are shifting, but that doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing. Yes, it can bring really horrendous and horrific symptoms. I'm with you. I feel them. I really do. I wake up and feel them. As a menopausal woman that went into very early menopause at 35, it isn't easy, but your body is changing, and how you respond to that is how you are going to navigate the next phases of this journey for yourself and your body. Okay, how you are navigating things like stress response, where beforehand your tolerance levels, your emotional load, your physical load were maybe quite high. Your tolerance, your window of tolerance was like, oh, I've totally got this. We entered into perimenopause and all of a sudden our stress response appetite or that tolerance level completely drops. It changes, it shrinks, and we start to feel the impacts of that a lot quicker and a lot heavier. And what we used to be able to do, we no longer can continue to do. That is not failure. That is an evolution of yourself. You're not meant to carry this. Yeah, you're not meant to do the same the whole way through your life. You're not meant to show up for everyone before yourself every stage of your life. And if you are a parent, then again, this is really important, because as parents, we almost, as soon as we become that parent to that other human, we kind of are a little bit more giving in that space. We do everything for them first. I recognize that I still slip into this, and it's just interesting to reflect and watch. But as we navigate into our menopause journey, ladies, we are now stepping into a new requirement for ourselves. Yeah, from others as well as from ourselves. So the way that you respond to stress changes. The way that you maybe respond to certain foods changes. What you maybe could consume before you were menopausal, you recognize now, this doesn't make me feel good. I recognize when I eat this food, I get itchy, or I have rashes, or I have bloating or flatulence or discomfort in my gut. There's reasons this is happening. Okay, it's not that you've done anything wrong. It's the same with certain alcohols. I've talked previously about, or spoken to previously about red wine, for example. I love a full-bodied red. I mean, it's glorious when you're out and you're having a meal. I love that. But it doesn't love me. I can now tolerate one small glass, and if I have a second or I have a third, I end up with what is called histamine sensitivity reactions. And this is where I have a bit of a tolerance, let's say, decline. Would that be right? Where actually my histamine sensitivity becomes triggered. So much like those of us that maybe struggle a bit with histamine intolerance through the likes of hay fever, then for me, if I have too much red wine, because it's a high histamine beverage, I end up with itching. I end up with headache. I end up with the heart palpitations and many other things that start to then occur. And it's not fun. So all of these things are important to recognize. Where there is change for you, it's recognizing, how does this feel? How does this look for you? And we can choose to see that in that moment as a bit of a reset point for you in your menopause journey. Okay, it's really powerful to be able to do that. And when I think about it for me, that whole omega result, that omega-3, that omega-6, that omega-9, those essential fatty acids, that result for me became a bit of a reset point for me this week, where it made me sit back and ask, like, obviously at the start of it, I was like, wow, I'm totally horrified at what I'm seeing. But what else might I be missing? Where else have I got gaps? And where I think I'm doing all of the right things, but actually have I been potentially thinking I'm doing the things, but in reality, my body isn't benefiting? And this is where it can become quite invasively eye-opening about how often do we ignore our body and the signs that it is telling us about. I mean, I always think to myself, how incredible would it be if we could actually look inside our body and we could see in an instant, like an inkjet in your printer, and you can see that the black ink is half full. You can see that the pink, the red or the yellow ink is like really quite full, and you're like, oh, actually, I probably could do with getting a black ink to top up my printer fluid right now. Like, how amazing would it be if we could see those things for ourselves? And that for me is probably where having blood testing done is really, really part of my health protocol now that I'm in my menopause, I'm in my 40s. We can benefit from running bloods to check where other things are for us. Because when we understand all of this and when we can see what is happening, when we can really appreciate that our body is transitioning and changing, and it may be as simple as, and I say this very, very beautifully and lovely, right? Maybe as simple as the fact that your essential fatty acids in your cells, in your body, and what is being able to be used are lower than what you are actually requiring right now. And if we can make some tweaks and changes to that and you feel better in yourself, then, oh my gosh, that's a bonus, right? That is a low-hanging fruit, as I call it, because it's something that we can easily control and we can easily influence. So here's the truth. Sometimes it is not menopause that are causing all of the symptoms that we experience. When we can run certain blood tests, we can get a really good visual and insight. It's not gospel. It's not going to be perfect, but it gives us an insight into what are we experiencing? Is there something else going on? And if you have low omega-3 levels, this impacts way, way more in your body than you realize. Okay, and for me, it's quite intriguing to see that as I start a protocol to bring my omega-3 levels up and really balance those essential fatty acids, again, through food choice and through supplementation, I'm looking at this as now I have the opportunity to enhance my brain function, which I would love, because even when I sit down to record these podcasts with you, there are times where my production team have to edit out me, for example, saying, oh, I can't pronounce that word today, or, oh, I'm having a real big brain moment where I can't think about what I needed to say there, or I've completely lost my train of thought. Go back, edit all of that out. It happens. These episodes are recorded and they are not seamless at times at all, because I have to make edits where my own menopause brain comes in and I think I was going on a tangent with that and now I've forgotten. So these things happen. So if I can improve my brain function, then my podcast team, Pete and Ed, are going to be so much more happier in life because they will not have to edit out my menopause brain moments. Mood. Again, I talked about how for many of us, mood can be impacted, but this is so essentially true. And in fact, here's a bit of a tangent for you. One of my girls is going through the neurodivergent pathway checks at the moment at school for ADHD. And what's quite intriguing is we do have really strong evidence in the research pool right now that can show that really good omega-3 levels, but also the balance between your omega-6 and your omega-9 levels, so your essential oils, essential fatty acids and oils, can really be supportive within neurodivergent minds. And as a woman who, 2-3 years ago now, I think it was 3 years now actually, I had a verbal diagnosis. I haven't gone through the full adult pathway for this because, quite frankly, I don't feel I need to and I don't want to. But I had a verbal confirmation and diagnosis that I have hyper-focused forms of ADHD. And it makes complete sense when I think back and when I look back at even my childhood. But where I've then got really low levels of these essential fatty acids and omega-3 levels, my mood can be affected. Inflammation is another one. When you have low levels of omega-3 in your body, in your cells, and in your think of it again as your ecosystem, then inflammation can be higher. And heart health. I mean, we already know brain and heart, when we think about omega-3, are the two things that we will talk about most. So when I look at this, I'm interesting, because maybe that brain fog isn't just menopause. Maybe that low mood that I experience at times is not just my menopause. Maybe that feeling that I have from time to time of not really truly just feeling switched on and feeling like myself is not just my menopause. And it's not just my hormones. And this is huge because we can get into the whole habit trap of blaming our hormones and our menopause for everything, when actually it may be something as simple as a low-hanging fruit of what more support does my body need from me in this moment. And within a matter of weeks, we could have you feeling so much more stabilized in those ways without hormones. That's a gift, right? So this is almost a stage where I like to refer to, and I'm working with any woman. So when I talk about working with clients, I work with women on their health, of course, but predominantly those that are business owners or senior level ladies in their careers. And we look at the pathway for their own success, which includes health and it includes hormones. And this is what I call your intervention window. Okay, because your body becomes incredibly responsive to change. The little bits of these like tweaks and low-hanging fruits that we start to then bring back into your lifestyle, your holistic nutrition, your care, every part of your need and your being. This is really, really your window, okay? Your intervention window. It's a beautiful responsive period where we can make quite quick changes and enhancements. And it means that even just the smallest of tweaks can have the biggest of change. Okay, we're talking about things like brain protection, supporting your heart, maintaining muscle and bone health, and stabilizing out things like energy, sleep, opportunities. These are huge for you, for not just now, but like I said at the start of this episode, this longevity upgrade that we get to then have as part of our menopause. And I'm not talking about things like anti-aging. I see aging as such a blessing, a gift and a gratitude because not everyone gets to age. When I think about the impacts that my own loss of my dad, when he was only 66 years old, he was such a young man. He should not have had an end to his life at 66. Not everyone gets to take the next steps into that aging journey. So I see it as such a gift, such a blessing and such a gratitude that I do age and that I do get wrinkles and changes within myself and my body. But I fully appreciate that for many of us, the whole concept of longevity in life is now becoming something that we are aspiring for. So I love that. And I love that about this generation of women, that we're looking at this as, how can I be a little bit more healthier? How can I give myself a little bit more longevity opportunity? And that is future-proofing your health in every aspect, which I love for you and for me, for us. So when you think about this and taking this on board, maybe you too need to look at your omega-3 levels, your whole essential fatty acids and what they are doing or not doing for you in your body. We talked about in previous episodes about such really simple and actionable steps that you can bring into your own well-being in life, like strength. Strength training is your superpower. Never underestimate even just 2 sessions a week. Lifting weights or putting weight-bearing exercise onto the bone and the muscle for you, like a non-negotiable. Do not navigate your life without at least 2 weight-bearing days. Okay, weight training, resistance training, whatever you want to call it, non-negotiable, essential. Do not skip. When we talk about brain health, this matters more than ever when you are navigating your menopausal journey. And brain fog is one of the most common symptoms that I hear about, and I experience it. It's actually an umbrella term. It's not just one symptom. I want you to see that this is an opportunity for you where you get to really support your sleep quality, where you get to look at your health overall, and omega-3s are part of that. I'm low in it right now, so it makes so much sense to me that I'm like, how interesting for me that I actually now have an insight into an area of my health that is quite low, quite deficient, that when I resolve that and bring those levels up, well, I notice that these things actually, I feel sharper, I feel clearer, I have more tolerance for stress response. Like, I'm excited about this information, not feeling guilty or shameful that actually that's where we've ended. So this is really exciting for me because your brain can adapt and thrive when you give it the right platform to do so. Really important. Heart health, again, this is another one for us as women where we are entering menopause that can be overlooked at times. But after menopause, when we are really in that postmenopausal stage of this journey, your risk of cardiovascular disease increases quite significantly. And I don't say that to frighten you. I don't even say it to frighten me. I say it as a position of when you are knowledgeable and you are educated in that, you are empowered by the choices that you make. So have a think about this, because your heart, your brain health, these are longevity upgrades that as you navigate this menopausal journey, you can make these little tweaks and changes that are going to enhance how you feel and how you are. And nutrition is huge. Yeah, omega-3 rich foods for me right now are like the number one change. And protein, again, I always have really good levels of protein, but there are times where, for example, just now, that has changed a little bit for me because I've had train track braces fitted to the bottom of my teeth for cosmetic reasons, but it's meant that the foods that I can eat at the moment, my jaw is sore, my teeth are sore, I'm more on softer foods. So I've brought more synthetic forms of protein into my diet at the moment through the likes of protein shakes. I tend to only keep those for kind of SOS emergencies. And now at this point in time is one of those times for me. But you can do so many beautiful things for your body. The one thing that I want to share with you at this moment is that your body is not working against you. Okay? It's not doing these things to punish you and to bring you into a state where it's like, well, this is just part of your journey. You get to make changes that support you in your whole entire menopausal health journey. And this could be one of them for you. I bring this episode to you today because it was part of an aha moment for me personally. And I am always open to sharing everything and anything that I discover as part of these journeys. Now, this might be the most important part of all for you in knowing that menopause is not just physical. It's a personal journey for you. And I just want you to really think about what you've listened to today. Is there one part of this that has maybe sparked something for you where you think, well, maybe I want to understand where my levels sit. Maybe I want to see, am I actually optimal within my vitamins and minerals, not just in my omega-3 fatty acids? And this is your simple invitation to get curious. That is all. This episode is not sponsored by a blood testing company. I am not here to sell you any blood testing kits. I am simply here to give you the opportunity to learn from something that I have learned as one of my main deficiencies at this moment in time. And of course, I will come back and let you know how things change as I start to bring more omega-3 rich foods back into my diet, and I will be supplementing as an immediate for that. So, the moment that my own results came back to me was a huge eye-opener, and it makes me think about when we are told that we do not need blood testing to be part of our menopausal journey. I absolutely beg to differ. I beg to differ because when we are in charge of the decisions that we make for our own health and bodies, we are informed. And when we are informed, that is an education platform for ourselves and our own bodies. We can then make our empowered choices. So I will retest, and I am going to do a full blood panel so that privately I can understand where are my vitamins and minerals, where are my hormones, and how are things looking for me. Because like I said earlier on in this episode, if we could look inside our body like those ink cartridges and see what one is running lower, what one do I need to go buy and top up, we would be absolutely balanced as much as we possibly ever could in our health, in our life, throughout the different phases and stages. And I just think it's really intriguing that we have a lot of the medical fields will say you do not need to test. There is no test for menopause. That part is true, but there are tests that will help you navigate your journey your way. And I, for one, will never stop doing these tests because for me, what was really important to learn about all of this is that my body needs me to do something for it right now. And I have that data, I have that insight. So if I choose not to move on that, that is my choice that I am making for or against where I am in my own journey. And of course, the very first thing that I did as soon as I got those results back was understand, well, what parts am I maybe deficient in? And how can I go and support my body with a supplement first off so that I can really get that into my system, and then look at, well, how do I then bring certain foods that are going to support me, and how do I make sure that my dietary intake is way more stabilized? Okay, because as a busy businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a mum, adulting, a woman navigating life, I have at times been very neglectful of what my body has needed, as many of us are, and not from a place I don't ever sit in shame around that. This was information for me. It still is. And I want to share this with you today because when you are informed with that information, you have the power to make the choices. So instead of seeing menopause or any deficiencies that you receive through any blood testing as something that's negatively happening to you, start seeing it as something that you get to work with. Start seeing it as an opportunity for that longevity upgrade for your future, and something that actually you get to be in control of, in charge of the decisions that you choose to make for you. And if you are informed, then you are empowered. And I just really want to end this episode around this. Be empowered through choice, through education, through information. And if that means that you run some simple tests to find out where you are, then do it. I advocate self-health. And that comes in many different ways. But when you are informed, you can make the choices that you need for you. Because you are not someone else. So what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. But if I've given you one piece of little, a sweet nugget to take away from this today, come and share with me what that is. Because if this episode has resonated with you, I would love to know, do you want more like this? Do you need to go deeper? Do we need to bring some brain experts into these episodes so that we can dive deeper into the spaces that interest and excite you the most? So I want to hear from you. This is a direct call to action. Come and drop me either an Instagram message over on my Instagram profile. You'll find me at the.menopause coach, or come find me inside my emails, Adele@AdeleJohnstonCoaching.com, and we'll have a chat together. And if you are not sure that you want to email me or find me on Instagram, that is absolutely fine. Drop a comment, drop a piece of feedback, drop a review on the podcast episode itself. And until next week, please take good care of yourself, even if it means that you run a quick check to see where your own omega-3 levels are sitting, your essential fatty acids for brain health, heart health, mood, and you health. And I will see you on the next episode. Until then, come and drop me over some information. What has been your biggest takeaway from this episode today? I love to hear it. As always, if you shared our personal experiences on this episode today, what I've shared with you is not meant to replace any medical supervision or guidance or advice. So please make sure you link in with your own medical team if you have any concerns.